Hello, YouTube fans. This is Dr. Matthew Johnson. It is Saturday evening, September 15th, 2018, 6:35 p.m. And I'm starting off the video with a handprint that was left, a partial handprint, I might add, which was left on the vehicle last night while we had a squatch standing between the two vehicles. Actually, we had several standing between all four vehicles, but we are gonna kick around what we saw. Just so you know, that's the 12 o'clock position, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and that's the 6 o'clock position, and that's the 3 o'clock position, and once again 12 o'clock position, the cove. So that's my cot there, and that's the other cots. And these four awesome gentlemen are going to try to put their brains together and remember what happened last night on Friday evening, September the 14th, in the Southern Oregon Interaction Area, otherwise known as SOIA.
So last night I played, I was the DJ. I had the music and I was picking the songs. There's a protocol that Dr. Johnson set up to play music in sets of three. It's fair to say that last night, from the minute the sun went down, this place exploded with activity, from visuals to sound to shimmering images to tree pops to orbs. It was incredible. The sightings and the spottings were amazing. And I have something I want to talk about as it gets later into the night. I had two big events last night that occurred for me, the biggest I've had so far in my squatching experiences, and I'm going to save those and turn it over to the guys to populate a little bit with some of the stuff that they saw.
Joel Kaminskis from Rainier, Washington. Again, my second SOIA trip. Last night was really super active, and early on, I think right around 7:30, before it was dark yet, I think I saw my first orb maybe 100 feet or so into the 12 o'clock position. About 20 feet up, it was a little blue light that appeared and then disappeared. And then after that, in that same general vicinity, I started seeing some heat signatures zipping back left and right a few times. And then by the time it got dark, there was no problem seeing pairs of dim red eyes.
Some over here above over the table.
Over the table, we saw some.
Between the cars.
We had a Forerunner and a Highlander parked next to one another, and Matt spotted Mogdu, who's about a 7-footer, and his eyes were pretty clear, pretty easy to see. And we communed with him for a little bit. We got a chance to walk up with him and put our hands out and have him give us some energy.
That was, but that was the first time I had ever seen an image, was of Mogdu right there. I finally got to see the shimmering outline in the image of the Bigfoot tree people.
Yep. And then I think shortly after that, I spotted what I guess would be about a 9-footer on the end of the picnic table. And most of us, I think a bunch of us, went over to go and commune with him. And
we had a vehicle parked here last night, but we have one of our members gone today, but he's talking about the end of the table right there.
And he was a relatively large individual, and I started to see parts of his face with like sort of red lines in it. I could see a brow ridge, I could see some eyes, a nose, a mouth. It didn't last for very long. It was a second or two, and it would kind of just shift. The image would shift around a little bit, but you could definitely see his face, and maybe even some facial hair on it. So that was kind of the beginning of the evening. I'll defer to the gentleman to my right to fill in what happened for them.
Mike, what about that the
Well, so once again, I'm basically energy blind. I can't see what these guys see. They're standing there going, "Oh, I can see his face," and I look and I see nothing. So if you come here and you see nothing, well, welcome to my club. So Matt's saying that Zorth is in front of us and everybody's looking at that way, and I'm like, I see nothing. I see basically odd energy patterns in my eyes, but if I shift my eyes, the energy patterns move, so it's just my eyes, etc., etc., etc. But so I'm getting a little disappointed, and we're all standing behind Matt. We're trying to see what he's seeing. Pretty much everybody's seeing what he's seeing except me. So
Me neither.
okay, so there's two of us. So I end up walking past where Zorth was standing and walking out there to the 12 o'clock position. And as I'm on my way out there, Matt's recording audio now, so he's recording audio of this. So hopefully you'll be able to hear the audio.
It's the 12 o'clock.
Exactly as it happened. But he basically says, Zorth says he loves you. And then almost immediately after that, you hear crack crunch, crack crunch, crack crunch off down the hill down there, because that's basically what I can experience. So, you know, they basically gave me what I needed as a confirmation.
And we all heard that. Everybody in the camp heard this huge footfall, this loud crashing. It's the first time I'd ever heard that down very close. I mean, how many yards was that? Like
probably about
30 yards
down
30
the hill.
yards, and
But
lasted like
from Mike.
10 seconds.
I was doing my best not to pout, because, you know, after 2 nights of everybody seeing shimmering images and I'm not seeing a damn thing, I'm over there in the corner going, someday that'll happen to me, you know. But you'll be able to hear that on audio, so I think that'll be pretty good.
Speaking of audio, if you look over on my truck, you'll see the parabolic microphone dish, which is hooked up to a Sony digital recorder, and the sounds that these gentlemen are referring to have been recorded, and I'll have to do editing for every second I record out here. I have to listen to it, so I get to hear it live, and then I have to go home and listen to it all over again. But just to give my perspective of what Mike was talking about, I was sitting over here, saw Zorth walk up to me, others saw him walk up to me. Some were having difficulty seeing him, so they got behind me so they could see the same vantage point I was seeing. Others were starting to see him. And I noticed that Mike, and was hearing that he was having difficulty, and saw him walk into the 12 o'clock. And all of a sudden, Zorth was telling me via MindSpeak, tell Mike that the Council of 12 appreciates what he did and that we love him. Tell him now. Tell him now. Now. And so I yell, Mike! Mike! The Council of 12 and Zorth appreciate what you did and they love you! And then crack, crunch right after I yelled that out. The timing was awesome. And you're going to be able to hear the timing once I post the audio recordings online. And Mike said they reached out to him in a way that he could receive it, and it's been my experience being out here with people that that's the way the Janu work. Some can see the visual cues, stimuli, others can't, others get it auditory or tactile. So sorry for the interruption, but just wanted to interject that.
So then later on in the night, I could start to see some pops of light in the trees. And then early in the morning, when we were going to bed, I got kind of my usual energy pattern on my body, saying hello, that type of thing. And then I was getting pulses of energy on my elbow right here, like pulse, and then pulse. So I started counting them, and when I got to 50, I just gave up. And I was still in my sleeping bag, so that was pretty interesting. That was my night.
Cool.
Yep.
Hello. Andy Cunningham from Redondo Beach, California again. And the experience that I had last night was awesome and amazing and mind-blowing. I saw more orbs, blue, white. The trees up here were like a Christmas tree. They were just popping everywhere. Went on and on and on for a long time. You could hear noises out here. The most interesting thing happened to me, though, was when we went to bed around 12 o'clock, 12:30, I asked for a healing. Now, it's kind of personal, but I'll share with you. I have a urinary tract problem. I have no flow, basically. And I asked for a healing. And sometime around 4 o'clock in the morning, I got up to use the restroom, and I had a jar that I was using so that I didn't have to use the area that we designated over here as a potty area. So this is the living room you're seeing, and beyond the living
Over
room
there.
is the bathrooms out over in that area, a designated area that we use. And I stood there and I used a jar and I climbed back into bed. And as I fell asleep, sometime in the next hour or two, I felt something or energy on my legs, just slowly going from my ankles up to my knees. It was an interesting feeling. Didn't recognize what it was. Woke up in the morning around 6:30, got out of bed, grabbed the jar that I had used to pee in, and the color was not of what I thought would come out of my body. And since that time, I have perhaps no longer a urinary tract problem because I'm feeling great. And I would say that that unto itself is amazing. And that's what happened to me last night.
Awesome.
I had 3 things. This is Bill Cunningham Corso from Redondo Beach. I had 3 specific things last night happen. 2 were just unmistakable auditory sounds, noises, and then one of them was kind of an experience. So Matt and I went for a walk past the toilet area in a very dark, down a very dark trail, not far, maybe 100 feet, 50 feet past where all the beds are, the cots up to the top. And Matt noticed a large image that had some shimmering to it, and I wasn't making out what he saw. And we got further into the trail and we stopped, and he said that, kind of described where, and I could sort of see that the light was patchy, kind of darker areas, lighter areas, and we sort of walked within maybe this far of this being there that Matt could clearly see that I was struggling to see, and then I could sort of, I don't know if my mind was helping me see it or I was actually seeing it, but we got so close, I put my hand out in hopes that I could establish a connection, and Matt also did that, and and Matt said, that this being's hand is outstretched to you, and I thought I could see sort of like a shadow type thing, but for certain I could feel these ever so gentle pinpricks in my arm that felt like a 9-volt battery would feel if you tested it on your tongue, but it was on my arm, and that was really cool. We stayed there, and then we turned around and came back, and then we went to bed at midnight, all of us, and I was in a bed and caught in between Matt and Andy, and around 3 a.m. or so, it'll be on the SoundCloud.com posting. I heard the loudest smash, crash, snap that made me bolt up, and I thought that my brother Andy had fallen out of his cot. And on the audio, you'll hear I said, "Andy, are you okay? Andy, did you fall out of your cot?" And he didn't answer, and I didn't even tell Matt this. So I wait and I'm listening, and then I still hear him snoring, and I thought, how is he still snoring when he fell out of his cot like that? And there he was snoring, and so I got out my flashlight and I just ever so gently flashed it over there, and Andy was still in his cot. Everybody was still in their cots. Nobody had fallen out of their cots. And that noise was just a loud smash crash, not to be mistaken. And then about an hour later, I was awoken again to what sounded like a super loud voice. It sounded really close, like a scream. I was asleep, but I got woken up to what sounded like somebody was yelling inside our camp. I couldn't quite discern what it was. That also woke me up. And then there was actually a fourth thing. Again, Matt was on 10 feet on one side of me, and Andy about 10 feet on the other side of me. And I heard this deep breathing, and this deep breath in and a deep breath out, like for about maybe 15, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. And it struck me as odd because Matt is also snoring, and so Matt was snoring, Andy's snoring. I could have got out a conductor thing, but anyway. So, but and then I hear Matt breathing. What I thought was Matt breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. It was the most peculiar, loud breathing, which was really out of character, and that sort of sums up the things that happened to me last night.
I think for me, the Zorth experience, which lasted more than a few minutes, it was quite long, was really amazing because I asked Matt early on, "Is Zorth here tonight?" And he says, "Yeah, he's right there." And at that time, I think he was maybe 30 feet away. And then he started to inch in closer. I said, "Matt, he's getting closer." And Matt said, "Yeah, he is." Then it was 20 feet. Then it was 15 feet. And then it got to within, I don't know, 5 or 7 feet or something like that. And I couldn't see him that well. And I mean, I could kind of gauge his height, but I couldn't see him that well. So when I moved behind Matt's chair, where kind of everybody was, I realized the enormity of his presence. He was all of 11 feet tall, maybe more, and I got to see some of his facial features. I saw his eyes, his eye sockets, his nose, his mouth, his brow ridge. It became clear for a few seconds here and there, and then Matt went out to touch him and reach his hand out, palm up, and I remember Zorth's arm. I could see his red arm just slowly descend onto Matt's hand. It was quite an experience. And then when Mike wasn't seeing anything, and he went into the 12 o'clock position, which is probably 30 yards or so out there, and Zorth said that he and the Council of 12 loved him. We heard the crunches. It was a very large being running at somewhat of a pace through the woods, and very loud and very pronounced. There was no mistake. It was not a deer or anything like that.
Heavy-footed bipedal.
It was bipedal, and it sounded like it had some serious mass behind
That's
it.
like the 7th or 8th time I've heard something huge like that.
Yeah,
that's
I've heard football. You don't forget it.
Distinctive.
There's nothing like it you've heard before when you hear that. And then I had 2 other experiences. I went a little bit later in the night. I went into the 12 o'clock position myself, and I said some personal things to the forest people, and I had a very large entity come up, maybe nine or so feet tall, and lay his hands on me for maybe 30 seconds or so, and it was just an amazing experience. We wrapped up kind of early. I think everybody was kind of tuckered for the day, and I remember laying in my cot and just checking out the stars and thinking, how awesome is this? And then I had 2 red faces that I saw, one on either side of my cot looking down on me. And I just saw them for a second. I always saw the red eyes, but I saw the face a little bit, and they kind of just whiffs came in and came out, and then I just corked off. It was an amazing night. Amazing night.
So when Zorth approached my position, and you said I got up to kind of walk toward him, did I reach out my hands for him to touch me? And you said you saw him reach down and touch.
I saw like a red, what looked like an arm just coming down, descending.
Yep.
Very slowly,
Mm-hmm.
not quick, until it looked like it was about even where your hand was.
Okay. And then did I attempt to hug him?
Oh, yeah.
Some people said they saw him put his arms around me.
That is correct. I saw well, that was at a different spot. That was a little further back.
Back
when
this way,
back.
when he was
Because
back.
He hung out here for about 10 minutes.
Yes,
and then
he
went
did.
Back and
Right.
was standing there, and then you went up again and hugged him.
Right.
And I could see, there was 2 things I saw. I saw an arm around you of sorts.
Yes.
Best I can describe
Yes.
it. And then I saw a red orbish thing go from the base of your spine to the top of your head. It just slowly went up. So I don't know if that was his hand or energy or what it was, but I saw that phenomena.
What you saw is what I felt. I felt his arm around me, and I felt energy going up my spine.
Yeah, I
That was
definitely
pretty
saw it.
cool.
Shall I turn it?
No, I'll just do this. I'll chat with you guys. when Bill referenced us being over in that direction past the toilets, and I was pointing out the bean that was there. Bill, do you remember my saying that I saw a little baby peeking out from over the shoulder?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that I could see the large adult head
Yes.
and then the smaller child head
You
in
did
the
say
eyes.
that, yes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then when I was on the toilet over in that direction, the wipes are in a plastic package, and that package scooted all by itself 6 inches on the ground. And then I looked up, and probably 6 feet away from me across the path, there was about a 7-footer with a red face looking at me. And I'm like, oh, hello. And they're different. They don't mind, standing there while you're peeing or pooping or, whatever. They're just there watching. They're just observing. It's pretty interesting. And then when I was sleeping, I went to bed much later last night, and I was sleeping there. I had a guardian, like I used to at SOIA. I had a guardian standing behind my cot all night long. I could hear his shifting feet on the ground, could hear him breathing, like Bill was referencing. He squatted down, got his head close to my head on the bed, and was breathing right behind my ear. And then he touched my head and touched my shoulder. And then I had 2 others on the other side of the cot squat down, and they were working on me. And then during the course of the evening, I heard some wood pops back there. I heard some wood pops up here. I saw orbs of light up high in the trees kind of jump out and drop down. Also an orb of light up here on this tree pop and kind of drop down. Heard tree knocks back in the trees here and back in that area there, the 12 o'clock position. Heard walking back there, walking over there. And then because of Andy's snoring, the lovable guy right there, who I love like a brother, awesome sense of humor. Because of his snoring the first night, we banished him. We banished him. You're out of here, buckwheat. We put him at the other end over there. So last night, I kind of think I heard what Bill might have heard, but what I heard was, crack, crunch, and brush, and it was really loud. And then I heard a, and I'm like, okay, who's that? What's going on? So anyway, and we had activity going on around the cots here. Jackie took off, so Jackie had activity around her. And we had activity all over the place, and Joel had the 2 around him. Mike, did you have activity around your cot? Do you remember?
Yeah, after I went to bed, I sat there staring at the stars for a while, and I could hear something moving through the bushes beside me.
Right over there in those bushes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like 10 feet back.
Okay, back in that area. Okay.
They love the bathroom area. They're always in the bathroom area. I went to use it a couple of times, and then I think it was a little one just scooted.
Yeah.
It startled me.
Yeah.
And then I think at one point in the night, I got up to urinate, and there was somebody with his head just above the bushes, red eyes,
Yeah.
just staring at me.
Yep.
Waited till I was finished, and just took off, and I chatted with him for a second.
Cool.
It was
So
pretty neat.
So what are we supposed to say when we approach the potty area?
Going potty, going potty, going potty.
Just going potty, just going
Just
potty.
going potty. And the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, we instituted that was because a few years ago in SOA, I approached the perimeter before I instituted that policy and unzipped my pants to do my business. And all of a sudden, this cloak squatch backed up like 2 steps right away. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even, I obviously didn't see he was there. And on another occasion, I walked up to a different position on the perimeter of the base camp at SOA and, started doing my thing. And 5 feet away, I look up, there's one eye level with me, glowing red eyes, 5 feet back. And I'm like, oh, hello. And then I, zip up, walk back to the base camp and go, there's one like right there. So anyway, after that, we now designate an area so everyone around here knows that that's our designated area. That doesn't stop them from being there, but at least if we verbally let them know, just going potty, they know why we're approaching that area. Also, last night, I said that Zorth was not the only one here. I said Zorth was here and the Council of 12 was here. And did we not see, or at least those of us who can, multiple shimmering images all around the perimeter and the cars?
Yeah, and they were very, very large. All 9+.
Yeah.
There were no short ones there at all.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the Council of 12, Zorth's one of the members, and for those of you who are going, what the heck, Council of 12? It consists of 2 members from each habitable continent. Obviously, that does not include Antarctica or Redondo Beach, California. So, anything else, guys, you want to share before I wrap things up? Any of you boys want your mommy?
I will say this: it's real, it's live, it's amazing.
Did I give you any Kool-Aid?
No, you haven't. I wouldn't drink your Kool-Aid.
You just hurt my feelings. Have I hypnotized any of you?
Not a chance.
No? Okay. I don't have any training in hypnosis anyway. Okay, you guys having fun?
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's great.
You ready for our last night?
You
Yep.
bet.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Okay, let's get her done. Bye.
Bye.